What would you say you do here?
It's the Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast. A podcast dedicated to up-and-coming bands, labels, artists, and more. Plug in and join your host, Brad Nunnery, as he dives deep into what the future of music has to hold and discover something new along the way. What else do you have to do?
Hi, I'm Marty.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Alex from Nowhere Fast.
And you're listening to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast.
Hit it, Brad.
Was Lonely from our good friends in Nowhere Fast. Many thanks to the band for recording that promo for us. Really do appreciate it, guys. Now, you can find that song off their brand new album. It's called Emotional First Aid Kit. Now, Nowhere Fast are a really killer pop-punk band based out of Portland, Oregon. But if you want to find out more about them, you can visit them on any social media platform at Nowhere Fast PDX. All right, good stuff. What's up, everybody? My name is Brad Nunnery. Welcome to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast, Season 3, Episode 1. Presented by my really good friend Jeff Small over at 1603 Designs. My guest tonight is Jonn Sohn. He is the frontman and guitar player for the band The MENDOZAZ. He also runs a record label called Cartridge Heart Records. The MENDOZAZ released a record about 6 months ago called Loafers. It's their third record. It's an amazing pop-punk record. It got a little mixture of skate punk in there and little horns for a little added measure. But we're going to talk to him about that album. We're going to talk to him about Cartridge Heart Records and the compilation they put out earlier this year as well. It's called Go Kick Ass. It's their second installment. Tons of bands on that CD and that album, and we're going to talk to them all about that. We're going to talk to them about life in Toronto. We're going to talk to them about the songwriting process and our mutual love for Ace of Base. It's a fun little fact. But anyways, here is the latest music video from the MENDOZAZ. It's called Pour One Out for Hot Sarah. It's on Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast.
I know this girl. She says that time is a four-letter word. She's tired of losing battles. Trades her hourglass for apples, waiting for the reward she deserves. A socialite suicide, a Friday night flatline, kick it to the next guy, pour one out. She spends another Valentine's, gazing in her cat's eyes, waiting for the dream to die. Pour one out, pour one out, for hot Sarah.
Jonn, what's happening, man? Thank you so much for joining the podcast now, the first episode of Season 3. I am honored to have you from the MENDOZAZ. How's it going, man?
Oh, it goes great. Really, really happy to be here. Season 3, Episode 1. It's a new year.
Yeah, new year. I had to take a couple months off, probably around October, because I was doing them left and right since January. And, and I was like, the holidays are coming. It's going to be hard to get bands, interested because everybody's at home and everybody wants to do their thing and spend time with their family and likewise with me, but so I took a couple of months off, so I might be a little rusty interviewing you and having the questions, but I really do appreciate you taking the time. And I definitely want to talk about your latest album, Loafers. I want to talk about that one unreleased track off the Go Kick Ass compilation, which I absolutely love because I know you run Cartridge Heart Records, and I want to talk to you about all that. But how's life in Toronto right now? Is it cold up there? It's got to be. I got a friend in Buffalo, which is not too far from you guys.
So Toronto, we get a bit of a break compared to the rest of Canada. It's only -7 Celsius, which I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sure it's
Sounds cold.
It is, but I mean, we don't have a lot of snow, and I can deal with the cold as long as there isn't ice on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
You
you guys are right by a body of water too, so that wind is probably coming at you pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, the way Toronto is built, there's so many buildings to like block the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get some like corridors where the wind just blasts through and knocks people over,
Right.
but for the most part, it's fine.
Yeah. It's we're supposed to be getting a cold front here. Actually, tomorrow the high is 56, low of 32, and for Florida boys and girls, it is like the worst thing in the world because I own literally I think one sweatshirt and two long sleeve shirts. So like this cold front's coming, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. I'm gonna have to get every blanket out of the house.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pile on every denim jacket that you own.
Just be like fag lyrical. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to put it on. But yeah, no, it's so funny running Signal Chords. I've discovered a lot of bands from Canada, and a lot of bands I love. There seems to be a huge scene up there as far as punk and pop punk and all that kind of stuff. Can you just kind of walk me through like Toronto and the scene out there and everything that's going on and what made you want to start a punk rock band?
Yeah, I mean the Toronto scene, I've really noticed it taking off over the last 4 years, basically since the pandemic. I was asleep at the wheel for a bit for the first few years of the MENDOZAZ, and the pandemic, once it ended, I really sprung into action. I really got into doing the band again, because I should probably go back to like the start of the band.
Yeah, sure.
So Mike and I have been friends for 20 years. And we were both playing in different bands. He was in like a metal band. I was doing this kind of off-center alternative rock group. And neither band let us indulge in the pop punk. We're both
really?
huge Green Day fans, and we would try to sneak it in, and it wasn't like appreciated, I should say.
Gotcha.
So we got together. We wrote a whole bunch of songs, and a year later, some guy who I had met on the streetcar and like we became Facebook friends, he posted, "I want to play drums in a punk band." So we're like, well, we could do a little project, write a few songs, play 2 shows, and be done with it. And we had so much fun doing it that we decided to keep it going. And here we are 9 years later. I mean, it was a year between writing the songs and our first practice. So it's been a long time. And it was a super like casual band the first 3 years, and the pandemic came, and we took 2 years off. And as soon as it ended, I was like, well, why don't we go for it? Why don't we, hit the road, start playing out of Toronto more?
Yeah.
And it's been an extremely rewarding experience.
It's something that the pandemic, it really revitalizes a lot of people. It did with me, with music and all that kind of stuff, and started in Signal Chords. And a lot of bands that I've talked to, they just really, for some reason, the pandemic just brought everybody together, and either everybody was locked down, recording music, and all that kind of stuff. But then the live entertainment kind of industry kind of went to hell for a little while, so nobody could get out and play, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember like sitting around and being like, I would, my kingdom to sit, at a 16 Scandals show. And so when I finally got to see them play again, it was just like the happiest moment for me coming out of there. And yeah, that first year out, I think I went to over 100 shows.
Really?
Yeah, like I was everywhere, I was so excited to check out all these, some bands were new, some bands are old friends I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And I just, it was a combination of going out by myself a lot, because I didn't want to have that conversation with everyone, hey man, how comfortable are you, going out in public, with a mask, without a mask?
Mhm.
Like, I know that, the way Toronto and the way, the United States looked at the pandemic was very different. Toronto was very, very cautious.
Or that, yeah.
And it was really important to me to not bring people out of their comfort zone. So I got used to going out by myself, and I got used to doing whatever I wanted. And it turned out that was going to 100 shows.
Yeah. Well, you can make all the decisions. You don't have to rely on anybody who says, maybe I don't want to go to a show, or maybe I don't want to do this or do that. You go out, you do it, and you just live your life. I've done that with movies. Like, I'll go see movies alone now. I never used to do that because all the movies I want to see, my wife doesn't want to watch them. I'm like, I'll just go by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you go home afterwards, and it's like you go all your day. Like, I mean, movies are interesting because you can't talk during the movie,
right?
Or you shouldn't talk during the movie. So you can go alone and have almost the same experience, especially if you have a friend who's already seen the movie. You talk to them about it afterwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And 100 shows, that's amazing. You hit the ground running and getting the band back together, and it's the same lineup from the get-go. And
we have a new drummer.
Okay.
I shouldn't say new. He's been with us for a year and a half, and he is the best. Like, I mean, I have no hesitation saying that. Like, I have the Mendozas. I have the best rhythm section in all of Ontario. There might be some bands that have a better drummer. There might be some bands that have a better bass player, but there is no band that has a better both.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, well, this new album, Loafers, I was listening to it before you jumped on here, and I had to revisit it again because it's one of those things where I'll listen to an album and I love it, and then I'll put it aside. I'm like, all right, I need to get back to it, and and then like a couple of months go by, and I'm like, God damn, I need to listen to this again. And I kind of wanted to dissect like some songs and talk to you about some of these songs off the record. Of course, you have Pour One Out for Hot Sarah, which is like one of my favorite tracks from the record, and of course I'd rather be listening to the Mendozas, and that's a really great self-promotion song right there. It's kind of like, it's just super catchy, and it's like you'll never forget the name the Mendozas. So that's brilliant marketing right there.
Yeah, I mean, it started as a t-shirt slogan.
Yeah.
I wanted people to wear t-shirts that said, I'd rather be listening to the Mendozas. And I'm like, well, how do I work this in?
I hear the sound from the underground. I hear it calling my name. It's pulling, dragging, taking me. I'll never be the same. And I know there must be something more than this. And I know I should really get myself out there. And I know, but I'd rather be listening to the Mendozas. Rather be listening to the Mendozas. Rather be listening to the Mendozas. Rather be listening to the Mendozas.
And I thought about maybe calling one of the albums that, but if you follow us closely, you'll see that all of our album titles are a reference to a certain TV show.
And you said that in the pre-show notes, and I try to figure it out, and I can't figure it out. You gotta let me know. I'm very stupid. I don't get out much.
All right. So, I mean, do you know who McBain is?
McBain? No.
From The Simpsons.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, McBain, it's a movie within the show.
Okay.
And Mendoza is the villain from that movie within the show. And that's where
awesome.
we got the name. So all of our album titles are references to the McBain character in The Simpsons.
2 days to retirement, up and at them.
Yeah, up and at them.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's with I think a director who's trying to get him to say a pun because he's playing Radioactive Man on the show. Up and at him. He's like, up and at them. No, up and at him. Radioactive Man, up and at them. No, right? Just. And Loafers was, again, another scene. And so we already have like a name picked out for the next album.
Oh, do you? You want to tell us? You want to give us the insight on it?
Absolutely not.
Come on, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll just say that there is an episode where it's I I forget the name they use, but it's the Simpsons take on the Hollywood Squares. It's from that episode.
Okay.
That's all I'll give you.
All right. No worries, man. Yeah, because Loafers has been out for what, about 6 months now? So you probably looking to make more music or new music, right? Or are you guys kind of still in that cycle of Loafers and going out and playing the album?
We are always writing. We have enough material for a new EP, which we're going to start tracking in March. We're in the pre-production phase right now, and we're having a lot of fun with those songs. We've taken a couple of them on the road and played them for people, and I'm not going to lie, people are really into it. So excited to get those new songs out. But also, like, Loafers is only 6 months old, so want to play as many of those songs as we can. We have a couple shows in January. We're doing one in Hamilton, Ontario, on the 11th of January. And we're gonna play Loafers in order. It's a bit of a spoiler, but if you want to hear, if you want to hear the album, we're gonna do the first. I won't say how many songs. We're doing a lot of it though.
That's awesome. I love it when bands do that. I love it when bands play like the whole album or one of their popular albums and doing that. At least a lot of songs off it. And I did see that you guys have been playing out a lot as of late and just getting out there, and that's really awesome. And be able to do that and still kind of work on music. Now, when you recorded Loafers and the other two albums prior to, do you guys record in the same studio every time, or is it you switch it up from time to time?
We did it with 3 different guys, and they're like 3 wildly different experiences. The first record we did with a guy named John Hawks, who had been a longtime friend of the band. Shout out to John Hawks and Fine Motor Control. And, it was our little project that was going to last for maybe a year. And we tracked it in a rehearsal space. And Jonn, who's a wizard at, making the most with, any situation, made this really slick sounding record that, we were super proud of. Like, I love listening to 2 Days to Retirement. I think the songs are great. I think, the fidelity is great. It's a really, I don't say underrated, but we didn't do a lot of promotion for it. So I don't know how many people heard it. Up and At Them we did with a fellow named John Dinsmore, who has a studio in Toronto, who is an absolute gentleman but also cool guy. He grills meat on his roof, he drives a motorcycle, he's a lifer, he's a session guy, and he always has really interesting stories, and he's the most chill person to work with. So we did Up and At Them with him, which is, again, a very different sounding record because that was our first time in a professional studio. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then with Loafers,
we went to another friend of the band, a guy named Matt Gauthier, who had a studio in Hamilton called This Place Needs a Name. And he had been working with a lot of people we knew, and we were just curious to see what that experience would be like. So we went, and he's just he's a total joker. He's really fun to sit with, and he has really good ears and offers good feedback. And I know any band that records likes to have someone in the room who isn't afraid to say, do a better take, or how about this, give you that feedback, so that that at the end of the session, you've done the absolute best that you're capable of doing. And I think that's the secret sauce behind Loafers, is that was, those were the best takes that I could do. Singing, that was the best I could play on guitar. Our drummer at the time, Enzo, that was the best his drums would sound. Mike on bass, everything, and Matt really pushed us.
Yeah. Do you feel intimidated by going into the studio knowing that you have to actually record stuff? Do you enjoy the recording process, or is it just something to do to be able to record the songs that you want to do? Because I know some people are a little bit of both. Some people hate the studio and they just rather play live. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I love the studio. I love getting to tinker around. I love hearing the songs that either are existing only in my head, or you only hear them when you play it band practice when you can't really hear everything because everyone's playing at full blast and you got your, your plugs in and you're trying to sing at the same time. And when you get in the studio, you can really hear all the details and how everything bounces off. And there's nothing more exciting than that to me.
Yeah.
Like I look forward to going to the studio like people look forward to going on vacation.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like that's my Christmas. Like, Christmas came and went for me and I kind of shrugged my shoulders, but going in to record this EP, I am so excited.
Yeah, it's and I'm like you. If I was a musician, I would totally be about it. The creative process of it and listening to it back. The only problem is I could never be a singer because I could never hear my voice. Like I'm talking to you right now, but like watching my podcast back, I can't listen to myself. I can't watch myself. I won't get a lot of views because I don't watch any of my podcasts after I've done like the conversation and edited everything, just because it's one of those things where I cringe. But it's awesome to be able to record something and hear it like in full force, on the best speakers and the best monitors, and hear those little nuances that you don't necessarily hear in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know the detail really comes out. I also struggle with a bit of that. I don't like to listen to myself in interviews or watch video back of shows.
Right.
I think everyone has a bit of imposter syndrome to some effect.
Sure.
And, the only way around it is just, to understand that just because you don't like the sound of your own voice doesn't mean other people don't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. But
that's what I do. I figure I go in there, I'll do my best, and regardless of what I think, people seem to like it, and it must be good. I can't argue with people telling me that we're good.
Yeah. No, at least you're doing something right. If they're not saying anything, then that's when you're like, oh, or people will give you that. It sounds pretty good. You can kind of read the room, kind of a deal. But if people are saying, it's awesome, it's awesome, and just accept it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of go back even further. As far as before the Mendozas, what got you into music? What are some of your inspirations as far as the bands that you loved and enjoyed growing up, and what was your main band? I know everybody has a main band that they first cling on to, and I have mine. And then you start broadening, your music horizons as you get older. But what was that one band that really pulled you in and said, "Oh man, this needs to be in my life"?
So my first ever CD was Ace of Base, The Sign.
Dude, I'm not laughing because you're an Ace of Base fan. I have a story about Ace of Base, but go ahead.
And my older sister, who was she was in the goth industrial, she would dress up in all black, and she was having none of this. I would be playing my Euro reggae, and she'd be like, every song's the same, stop. I'm getting you something better. And so for my birthday that year, she got me Green Day, Dookie.
Okay. And
I thought, this is a cool record. I like this. And it took me a little bit to really like dive into it. Right. And once I did, once I embraced, because I was young and I wasn't quite ready for the dark humor that came with that record. My first time listening to Having a Blast, I'm like, this is terrible. Right now I'm just like, no, this is fun. Right. But once you stop taking it so seriously. And the next record I got after that was the Angus soundtrack, which has Jar at the top of the record. And that's that is when I'm like, okay, this stuff is fun. I can embrace this and have fun with it. And then I went back to Dookie and I appreciated it a lot more.
Yeah, no, Jar was amazing, and that's an underrated soundtrack. Because there was I think Love Spit Love, Am I Wrong?
Yep.
Was on that record, and that's like one of my favorite songs of all time. And it's not even punk; it's it's just like kind of that that old 90s, 80s new wave kind of vibe to it. But yeah, that's awesome. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, who else is on that? Tilt's on there. The Muffs, Dance Hall Crashers. Yep. Ash, Riverdale's Weezer. There's a Weezer B-side. It's a really good one too. You Gave Your Love to Me Softly. Like I like geeking out over that compilation.
Yeah, I haven't heard it in forever, and I totally forgot the Dance Hall Crashers were on there.
Oh, I mean, Rob Cavallo produced it, so he just picked all the coolest bands that he liked.
Right. Ash. I've never met one Ash fan. Like, I know Ash, and I used to love Ash. And it's so funny that you had said Ash. But no, I got a funny story about Ace of Base. So, I was in the Navy, and we had like a ship store, and they had like a very limited CD collection. It was like maybe 20 CDs or whatever. But I was hurting for new music, and I was overseas, and I didn't have like access to, like, we have to mail order back in the day, the paper mail order and all that kind of stuff, and it would take weeks and weeks to get records. But I was just so furious. I just wanted new music, and I grabbed an Ace of Base CD because I was so hard up, and it wasn't. I don't think it was the Sign. I think it was the album after the Sign. All that she wants is another baby. I think
that's the same. That's the same one.
Is that the same record?
Yeah, that was the one after that. It's a Beautiful Life.
Yeah, that's the one. It's a Beautiful Life.
That. It was called The Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, I know too much about Ace of Base.
But it's so funny. It's like, like if you go to my CD collection or whatever, and people are looking around, oh, there's a Pennywise, there's Dropkick Murphys, there's Ace of Base. We're like, yeah, just keep moving on. No, but there's it's like candy, like that kind of music is just like candy. It's fun. It's meant to be enjoyed and all that kind of stuff. It's like country music. It's like, I don't take it too seriously, but if a good song comes on, a good song comes on. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of like the Mendoza's secret sauce too, is that I really liked, radio friendly music. Mike on bass, like I always say, he's the punk guy. He knows the encyclopedia of punk. He can tell you what year albums came out. He'll tell you all the cool bands. He knows everything. Whereas I was listening to radio bands like the Marvelous Three, the Verve Pipe, who's another good one, Weezer. And so that's what informed my sensibilities when writing is, let's 3 chords in the melody, go. Because the band I was in before the Mendozas, we were like progressive alternative rock to some extent. We would stack together, different sections, and we had a really interesting lineup. I was playing a baritone guitar, we had a keyboardist, and these long wacky songs. I go back and listen to them, and they're very strange, and I wanted to dumb it down. I cleared everything off my effects pedal board. I used 2 effects. I use a distortion and a boost, and that's it. Which got me to strip down my songwriting. And it also got me to improve my guitar playing.
Right.
I want a cool sound. I better do it with my hands.
Yeah. I mean, that's smart. And lyrically, what's your kind of wheelhouse when you going to write a song? Now, do you get the songs together before you start writing the lyrics, or do you have the lyrics together and then you start writing the song?
Melody first.
Melody first.
Yeah. So what I'll do, either at band practice or when I'm by myself, is I'll put together some chords I like, and I will basically scat. I will sing nonsense words, and I will record that, listen back to it, and then try to fit the words into that meter, that melody, so it has a good feel to it when you're listening to it, because that melody is so important to me. Another thing, and this is around the same time the Mendoza started, I got into comedy writing.
Did you?
I was writing for stage. I did a little bit of stand-up. I write for screen a little bit now. And so in addition to writing about my own experiences, and a lot of the Mendozas is my own experience, influenced by it, I don't say it's all 100% accurate to real life, because again, I'm writing stories through songs, but that's where it germinated from. And as things progressed, I got more creative with my writing. Trying to think of a good example. I mean, a bunch of the songs are inspired by movies. Like, I just wanted to take some scenarios from movies, put words to them, that makes my song happen. GTFO is just 2 Danny Boyle movies. The first verse is Sunshine. The second verse is 28 Days Later.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Moscow off of Loafers is just Rocky 4.
Is it really? You know, when I was just listening, I love Moscow.
Yeah,
That's
that's.
like one of my favorite tracks, but I didn't dive deep into the lyrics yet. But
I mean,
it's Rocky
there's
Ford.
not a lot to it. It's, if you could
Yeah,
change and I could change, maybe we can all change. That's the
yeah,
that's what he says to Drago at the end, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
Dude, that's awesome.
we fly the flags today at half mast for our friend who's breathed his last. That's Apollo.
Yeah, dude, that's all. I love those inner meetings and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of what do they call it? When you put something in the background, like in a movie from another movie. What do you call it?
Meta reference, or no, it's not quite it.
No, it's what do you call it when, like, let's say like you put something in the background of a movie that belongs in another movie, but like you don't see it, kind of a deal. It's kind of one of those. I forget the term, and it's going to come to me as soon as the interview is over, but. No, it's a really cool way to go about doing it, right? And a lot of people have said that they do that scatting and kind of stuff and doing that, finding that melody and that hook, right?
Yeah, and I think that produces the best songs. Yeah, but when you talk about references, if you listen carefully to the second verse on Moscow, there's a musical reference to the war theme when Rocky and Drago are fighting at the end, where we get that do 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 do. We do the first few notes of that.
Oh, I'm gonna go back and listen to it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I was listening to the record, and the first like three tracks are great. I've heard them dozens and dozens of times. But Lord Coxwell came on, and then next thing I know, I'm like, is that horns? It's like, holy crap, that's freaking horns. Like, and now they're like, Scott, like, you guys have like a mixture of everything, right? The skate punk, the pop punk, and then like random horns out of nowhere. And you're like, it's a pleasant surprise because you don't expect it, especially after like the first three tracks, you know what I mean? So that kind of makes that track stand out to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love, so much music and so many different bands, and we want to incorporate it all into what we do. Because, like our band is just like, we want to make the music that we love, and we wear our influences on our sleeve. I'm a big Less Than Jake fan, and I was listening to a lot of Less Than Jake. I'm like, I want to make a super happy song with triumphant horns in it. And my friend Joel Dalton plays trumpet in a band called the Idaho Stop. He also sings and plays guitar. He's a Renaissance man, and he came out to the studio and just did this great job tracking and trumpet for us, and it's just. Yeah, it really makes the song, like when we play it live, because we don't always have Joel with us. I play the lead. How do you recreate that? I play the lead on the guitar, but it's not the same. Like, it's still good, but I like it with the trumpet better. Yeah, what you should do? You should have like kind of like a sleeper guy in the crowd, like he's just like a fan, and then like he knows he's coming up for that song. I've seen bands do this before, and like I'm like moshing next to a guy, and then next thing I know, he's up on the stage doing the horns, and then he comes back down, and it's like such a really cool kind of experience because you never expect it. It's only one song. He just goes up there and does his little thing for like 28 seconds, and then just comes back down, and it's awesome. You should start doing that. That would be amazing. Just surprising the hell out of people. Yeah, we have a guy in the scene. His name's Fast Eddie, and he loves the bands in the scene, and he knows the words to their songs, and it's not uncommon for him to hop on stage and sing backups. Let's get him up there. Yeah, so he comes and sings GTFO with us a whole lot. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so speaking of live and playing all these shows, is it you've been doing it for what, 3 or 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. Well, actually you said 8 or 9 now. Is it still as fun the first time as the first time you did it, like playing live? What is the best thing about performing live in your eyes? It's more fun. Just because I think the band where we have it now, like we finally have all the right pieces. Like getting this new drummer, Dick, he was the missing piece. He completes the band, and we have so much fun traveling together. We have so much fun practicing, writing, recording. Like every aspect of it is fun. And the band chat is light. We're all comic book nerds. We get along really well. That's awesome. And every time we play a show, we always have something new to put in the set because we write so quickly. Why don't we toss this song in? and try it out and see what people think. And then we won't play that song again for 6 months. And,
Right.
until it's recorded. Once it's recorded, we'll throw it in more regularly. But we like to preview new stuff. We like to try out covers. So every time we play, we do put something fresh in there. And I like to talk to people during the set from the stage. It's a little bit of that stand-up comedy background.
Yeah, you're a showman. Yeah.
So awesome. It's every set is a chance to have fun up there, and we do. So it's
you said you guys do covers. What's your go-to? What's your favorite cover doing? Is it a Green Day song or is it a Weezer song?
I really like our cover of "Kill Your Television" by Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
Wow.
It's the last song on our second album.
Yep.
We tracked 2 covers for those sessions. The first one was that, and we also did a cover of "Let Me Go" by the Marvelous 3, nice. Which is a slow ballad, and we sped it up. We punkified it.
Oh, really?
That one's we released it as a standalone single last year, I guess 2 years ago now, October 2023.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's you speak of Ned's Atomic Dustbin. That's a blast from the past, and I saw them open up for Letters to Cleo.
Oh wow!
In San Diego, where Korn at Soma, I think it was called Soma, and I think it was Southern California, and I think that's where Korn got their start near Huntington. So Huntington Beach. We were there. My ship was stationed out there for a little while. My ship was built out there, so we would go see shows and all that kind of stuff. And Letters to Cleo was like, they had that Here and Now song, and that was just playing all over the radio and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember, and the only thing I remember from that show is them and then Ned's Atomic Dustbin, because I thought that was like the greatest name for a band. I had no idea what it meant, but, and I don't remember them playing, but I know that they were there. It was one of those things.
Yeah, they're kind of like us, where they got their name from a radio show, UK radio show called The Goon Show.
Oh, really?
And it was just sort of we need a name. Let's just go with that. I mean, when we came up with our name, we didn't think we'd still be doing this,
right.
8 years later.
Right.
Right. With this, this silly name,
No, I love the Mendoza. I love the name because it's not it leaves it up for people's imagination of what it is. If they're not big diehard Simpsons fans, I love the Simpsons, but I'm not a diehard fan where I would know these references and stuff. But it's still, it's not like the Strokes or like something that the Hives or what I mean, where there's something that's right there. It's like leaves you like Mendoza's. What is a Mendoza? Like, it makes you wonder. But that's awesome that it's kind of a deal, and I'm glad that you're still loving what you're doing, because I know sometimes, like, the older you get, the more hard it is to get everybody together and do it. But you guys are taking it seriously and all that kind of stuff. Now, do you guys have any plans for? I know you guys are playing some shows in Toronto. You got a whole bunch of gigs lined up, but are there any? Do you guys play in the States at all? Do you guys come down here at all?
We would love to come to the States. The way the visas are set up for getting a work visa to play in the States, it's very expensive for Canadian bands to get down there.
Yeah.
So if we were going to take that plunge and come down, we would have to have like a really extensive tour to justify the cost. Like, we wouldn't be able to come down for a show or 3. Like, we would have to do a tour, and logistically, I don't think we're quite at that point, but we would definitely like to get there. If Rancid came along and said, "Hey, come open for us for a month or 2," we're there. We'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But where we're at right now, I think we still have plenty of growing to do in Canada, and then getting to the States or Europe or anywhere else. We'd love to do all of it. We'd like to play all over the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, is there like a go-to place up in Toronto where like bands like like those kind of where you can attach yourself onto those bills to where it's like, okay, you can get Lagwagon on there, and the Mendozas, all that kind of stuff. Is there opportunity to in Toronto be able to open up for those bigger bands and get the attention of those bands to say, hey, get you on tour, we like what you're doing, all that kind of stuff?
I think so. I mean, there are some promoters in Toronto who book those bands, and I know we had an opportunity to open for like one of those bands, and it fell through. Like at the last minute, we got swapped out for another band. But it's I don't know a surefire way to get those gigs. I mean, if I did, we would. And also over the last couple of years, I've sort of gotten a reputation for being a guy who does his own thing, just because I got really busy with Cartridge Heart, putting together shows, and I put the Mendozas on those shows. So I don't know if I've been necessarily flying that flag saying, hey, put us on a bill so much, because I've been so focused on growing the Cartridge Heart experience.
And let's talk about it. So I got this right here.
That's
Go
it.
Kick Ass 2. So obviously there was a 1. Was there a 1?
There was a 1. There's a 1.
Okay.
And there's going to be a 3 this I guess end of summer.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and when he sent this to me, I opened it up, and it just like the feelings and emotions, because I was a CD guy before I was a vinyl guy. I was a tape guy, everything. I was every format that you could think of I loved, but I collected tapes for years. But CDs were like my vinyl. I had, I have over like 3,000 CDs and roadie cases right now. Like a DJ thing, because my wife won't let me display them, because she's like, they're CDs. I'm not going to let you display the CDs. I'm like, come on. She's like, Brad, you're almost 50 years old. You're not displaying your CD collection. So I was like, all right, well, we compromised. So I got it, during the pandemic, I got into vinyl, and now I'm spending all my money on vinyl. But opening this compilation, number one, I love compilation records. I love it, especially what I do with, Signal Chords and discovering new bands and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I got days and days worth of material, and I've listened to this, and there's a lot of really killer bands on this record. Let's talk about Cartridge Heart and how you got that started, first of all. And are you running it all by yourself, or do you have some help?
It's just me.
Yeah.
Cartridge Heart started as just something to slap on the Mendoza's releases. I found that I was self-releasing so much stuff over the years, I might as well put it under a single banner. So the first release was the first Mendoza's record. The second release actually still isn't out yet, because it was a covers album that I just have been slow to get all of the licenses cleared, and I like to do everything on the up and up on that. Sure. I released a solo record, and then Mendoza's second record was the fourth release. Go Kick Ass was the fifth release. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the sixth release was finally me reaching out to another band and saying, hey, do you want to work together? And that was a really cool CD that they had, written and recorded. And I wanted to, basically do what you do and give them a signal boost and get them out to more people. And it was a really good record. So that was sort of my first experience, with another band that wasn't my own.
What band was that?
They're called No Sunshine Collective. And their CD came out last spring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this year I've been talking to some bands, and again, working with them, getting their releases out. Maybe they weren't planning on doing a physical release, or maybe, what I can provide would be helpful to them.
Yeah.
But it's been a learning experience for me. Like, I didn't go to music business school. I didn't go to any business school.
Right.
I'm just learning as I go along.
Just winging it. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people doing that, especially in the record label industry. They're like, they just want to release it because their bands make music, but they wind up defaulting, and that's such a great thing to have underneath your belt, in your arsenal. Be able to know what it takes to put a record out there for somebody else and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it's not an easy feat as far as the legalities of everything and the money and the physical releases and timing and calendars and bands and personalities. It seems like a really a tough but lovable venture that you're doing with Cartridge Heart, is it not?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's, if I didn't believe in the music, that I'm slapping my logo on, I wouldn't be doing it. Like that No Sunshine record is such a cool record. I consider it like a feather in my cap. And, the next release, which is coming out pretty soon, I can't talk about it just yet. We're just slightly ahead of the curve on it. It's a reissue from a band that I love, and their first EP is out of print. and they reached out to me about doing a reissue. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So this album that I already love and I've loved for years, now I can, be a part of putting that into other people's hands and saying to them, check this out. You're going to love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send you a copy of that once it's
Dude,
out.
absolutely. And so I got a question. So you got a couple bands that you're working with now, but I'm sure you probably want to expand your roster. I would assume, as the more information, the more you get kind of used to running the label. But my question is how do you get all these bands to contribute to this? I mean, I don't think you necessarily are, all these bands are underneath your umbrella, but you probably reached out and you're in the scene and know a lot of these bands to be able to put it out. How did all these tracks come about?
I mean, I got really lucky. Like I said, I went to 100 shows in 2022. I went to a lot of shows, 2023, 2024. I meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when I go to a show, I stay for all the bands. I'll catch the opening band, and I'm so glad I do, because that's how I see, new acts that I hadn't seen before, and I may not have heard. And so, Go Kick Ass. I don't take submissions. It's just me reaching out to bands that I like and saying, "Hey, would you like to be a part of this?" And I was a little overwhelmed with Go Kick Ass too, because I didn't expect so many bands to say yes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be 2 discs, but I didn't want to say no to anyone who had a song for me, because these are all unreleased songs. It's a premiere. Yeah. The inspiration for Go Kick Ass is a Canadian compilation called Big Shiny Tunes, which was a collaboration between a bunch of labels and Much Music, which is the Canadian version of MTV.
Okay.
And they would get all the bands that they felt were going to be, exciting for the next year and put their new singles on. Yeah. So what I did is I reached out to all the bands that I consider to be exciting, and worth listening to. And I say, give me a song that you haven't released yet, whether it's a B-side, whether it's an outtake, whether it's something that's going to be coming out later.
Sure.
Like a lot of the songs on Go Kick Ass 2 premiered when Go Kick Ass 2 came out.
Awesome.
So that it was this event. And, so when Go Kick Ass 3 comes out, it's going to be all new stuff. And if you're into, the first and second edition, you should be looking forward to number 3.
Yeah.
Because
there's going to be a whole bunch of new bands on there as well, or is it some of the ones that have been on the ones previously, or are these all new bands, or is it a hodgepodge of
it's a mix. It's who has stuff ready.
Yeah, sure.
So
it's funny because I look at this and it reminds me, the first thing that I saw besides opening it up and seeing the discs and getting excited about it, but it reminds me of the punk versus ska compilations. You remember those?
I don't. Tell me more.
All right, so they made 2. It was punk versus ska. It was like I don't think it was 2 CDs, but it was 1 CD. But it was like the first, and they were really short songs, like a minute and a half songs. It wasn't like these really long songs, so they could fit a lot more songs on the CD. But they came out in the 90s. It's punk versus ska, and it was all punk bands on like the first 10 tracks, and then the second 10 tracks were all ska bands. And they did it twice, and that's where I discovered that was like my college is compilations, is like loving and finding out these bands, because I was like, oh, I love Lagwagon, but Lagwagon's on this comp. All right, who else is on this comp? And then I started listening, and trying to find more and more. Like I was like a sponge taking it all in. But that was probably the first comp where I was just like in love with like every single song. Like there's a band called Stymie that did a La Bamba cover, like a really like fast version of it. It's the most incredible is it just starts with a snare drum and it just goes psh, la la la, la, and it's like speed punk. It's so awesome.
Check out
a lot of really. What's that?
Check out the first Go Kick Ass. This band from Newmarket called Hysterics. They did an Ace of Base cover.
Oh, did they? Oh, hell
they did a punk cover of All That She Wants.
I'll have to check it out.
And
dude.
It's way better than you would think it would be.
Yeah.
Right. Like a punk cover of All That She Wants. What's that going to sound like? But you listen to it, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. So you gave me a track, and we're gonna play it here on the podcast for a band called Life Skills and Pizza Party. I like this band. I love the who doesn't love a pizza party, right? But I love the punkiness and the rawness of this band. Let's talk about Life Skills and how these guys got on board with the compilation.
So I've known Zach, the drummer from Life Skills, for a few years.
Yeah.
And he's very prolific. He plays in a lot of bands. And so I've been, keeping tabs on them and checking them out. And I think it was last April, maybe March or April, when they played their first show with us. And I was blown away by how cool they were, as people.
Yeah.
And also how interesting their sound is.
Yeah.
Like they're not your standard punk band. They're not your standard hardcore band where, their singer Dylan has this manic energy to him, but it's also very calculated. They have 2 songs on their EP that are just lullabies that he wrote for his kid that he adapted into punk songs. So they're like 30 seconds each, and they're really cute. But also their guitarist, Brandon, has a knack for creating cool sounds, which again sets them apart from everyone else.
Sure.
And Zach's a beast behind the kid. It's just a really cool trio. And so they put out their EP, and they had this other song that wasn't on it that they closed all their sets with called Pizza Party. And so when I approached them for Go Kick Ass 2, I said, is there a chance you could record Pizza Party? And they did. And it made me so happy, So, I got to premiere it. So every time, someone, buys a copy of Go Kick Ass 2 for me, I can look at them and be like, you're going to like at least one track on this compilation. I mean, I feel that way about all 29, but
right.
It's one of the many reasons I'm so proud of it.
Pizza party, pineapple, pepperoni, and bacon, please. Don't forget the mushrooms. Pineapple, pepperoni, and bacon, please. Don't forget the mushrooms. Pineapple, pepperoni, and bacon, please. Don't forget the mushrooms. Pineapple, pepperoni, and bacon, please. Don't forget those mushrooms. Mash, room, mash, room, mash, room, mash,
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, and it gave me, you and I have been talking for a while now, even before the Christmas break, and I had this brilliant idea to do a Signal Chords radio to where it was just like, what I wanted to do was I wanted to highlight the bands and play the songs in their entirety, kind of a deal. And you're not going to see my face. You'll hear my voice in between songs promoting it, kind of a deal. It was like a radio thing that I was going to do on YouTube, and get everybody's permission, the labels and the bands and all that kind of stuff. And I had this brilliant idea. And then you sent me this, and I was like, oh, this is perfect for a Signal Chords radio thing. That way we can, it's a compilation radio thing to where we could play all the bands and well, not all of them, because actually, I don't know how long all these are, but you could fill in an hour worth of time, and highlighting a whole bunch of bands that are on there, and I'd like to talk about it and all that kind of stuff. But timing, just was so horrible, and like in building something up from the ground, it took me so long to do this podcast or build this. It took me like a year and a half before I actually cracked a mic to actually do it and do the research and all that kind of stuff. So. I just ran out of time. I will eventually do it, and maybe around Kick-Ass 3, I'll be ready to do it. So hopefully you'll be up for it, and I'll have my shit together by summertime.
That'll be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about. So you're talking about you guys are working on a new EP.
Yep.
New music. When can we expect that?
I don't know. No, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
For the EP, I mean, it'll be ready when it's ready. And, we don't have a deadline for that. As for the mysterious Cartridge Heart release, the reissue, it'll be out over the next 3 months. Like you'll be able to get it by April.
Okay, very cool. Are you doing any vinyl releases, or are you just doing CDs for now, or what's
Just CDs for now.
Okay.
We might play with vinyl at some point. I'm just, I'm undecided.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't grow up with the format. I don't love it. I grew up with
okay.
CDs, and so putting out CDs is what makes me happy. And
Right.
being the only person buying Cartridge Heart means
Right.
the only person I really have to please is myself. As long as the bands
Sure.
are taken care of,
Right.
there's no mandate to grow if I don't want to.
Sure.
My approach has always been, keep doing it as long as it's fun.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, you don't
I
want to be tied down and having to do a bunch of stuff that you don't want to do, right? That's
yeah,
just yeah, it's one of those things where vinyl is hot nowadays, but I know the process is not an easy one. If to try to put something out as far as expenditures and redeeming the money back from the bands and going out there and trying to sell it and stuff, and I know that that's a headache beyond some people's control and all that kind of stuff. But it would be nice to have a Mendoza's vinyl record one of these days, and I could build it in and all that
well,
good stuff.
if there's any labels out there that want to, put out a vinyl version of Loafers, let's talk. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll shop it around if you need me to. No, it's all good. Jonn, thank you so much for joining the podcast, man. I really do appreciate it, man. Where can people find you and find your merch and find more about the Mendozas?
Go to the
Cartridge Heart.
mendozas.com.
Okay.
It's Mendoza's with a Z at the end. We spell it that way, so you can Google us.
You're right.
And all of our socials are there. You can check out all of our music videos. You can buy our music on Bandcamp. We're on all the streamers. Cartridge Heart, Cartridge Heart Records.bandcamp.com is where you can buy copies of Go Kick Ass and Go Kick Ass 2. If you want to stream the songs individually, find the bands. They have a pop on their Spotify accounts or Apple Music or whatever. Not every song. We have a lot of exclusives on the compilation. So if you want the Go Kick Ass experience, you got to go to the Bandcamp.
All right, sweet, and I'll put the links down here in our description so people can go ahead and click on it, get it right there, and get after it.
Thank you so much.
All right, Jonn. Best of luck to you and the Mendozas. Let's be in contact, very soon, and we'll touch base when Kick Ass 3 comes out, and I'm looking forward to it, man. Because Kick Ass 2 is awesome, and I'm gonna revisit Kick Ass 1. Really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to the new music from your band as well, man. I appreciate you taking time for the podcast.
Cheers. Thank you.